You dudes, Warren here. I wanted to do a quick and random video today about my favorite memory from from a number of the Detroit Lions players and coaches. I think I'll go on ahead and start with Dan Campbell. I would say my favorite memory of him is after the Lions beat the Commanders early last season in the post locker room celebration. He goes, "Hey, Skip, nice freaking job, man." And then everybody chants, "Skip, Skip, Skip," while he's just standing there holding back a grin. And, because Vaitai was injured, he was supposed to be a starter, and Dan Skipper got elevated from the practice squad there. And, there was doubts about like how well he can play, and he exceeded expectations. And, Dan Campbell gave his credit to where credit was due, and that goes to show what kind of coach he is. That's why everybody will run through a brick wall to play for him. And that one has always been my favorite. It gave me chills when I first saw it. And about Dan Campbell, I think all of us kind of tend to forget. Like some of us, like myself included, wake up praying for fresh sound bites from Dan Campbell, because he does provide a lot of them from time to time. But we all just got to remember, Dan Campbell is not a cartoon character. Dan Campbell is a football coach, and he's done a really good job overall. Like, we all don't agree with 100% of his decisions, but he's the guy in Detroit. So glad to have him there. So Ben Johnson, I think in terms of like a football play, the trick play that they did against the Carolina Panthers this past season, where Sam Laporta got the touchdown from that, I think that might have been my favorite play from him. He's very clever with that. And then, like, personality wise, as far as I can think of, way back when the Lions coaching staff was doing the Senior Bowl, he was joking around with Sam Howell, who was on their team for the Senior Bowl. And Sam Howell, he was asking Sam Howell if he knew what alumnus he came from or something like that, and he said he didn't know. And he did come from North Carolina, where Sam Howell went to North Carolina as well, and they're both North Carolina alumni. And he's like, "Come on, man." And I thought that was pretty funny, pretty cool there. And then Aaron Glenn, AG, I think probably back 2 to 3 years ago, the same game where Justin Tucker kicked that record-setting field goal bouncing off the crossbar to break our hearts. During that game, though, he did a defensive scheme that proved to be very effective in containing Lamar Jackson, so much so that other coaches from around the league were giving me a call asking, "Hey, how did you do that?" So there's that. And then the only like non game related thing I could think of with Aaron Glenn, he was in a press conference once, and he was going through a rut and venting to his wife, and his wife was like, "You finished? Now just go out there and go be AG. Go be AG." And that's kind of what stood out to me with that there. Jared Goff, this is in the preseason from last season before the game against the Atlanta Falcons. The first time we saw Aiden Hutchinson in that game and that sort of thing. I found about this in the press conferences. Apparently, he went into Dan Campbell's office and demanded that he go out there in the first drive to be with his offensive line, because they were all going to be intact for that drive. And Dan Campbell initially was like, "No." And he's like, "Yeah, I want to be out there. That's with my boys." And Dan Campbell was like, "Yes." And, basically that memory, just going to show Jared Goff, leader as a quarterback, and does all the things you would want from a quarterback there. So, but yeah, that one. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he has a whole bunch of conversations and stuff you hear about on the 33rd team, as well as in the media. I do love his ad reads too, especially the one that you see all the time during the live post game show, like right after the press conference and stuff like that. But I think it's got to be when he caught the game-winning catch against the Minnesota Vikings back a few years ago, and it snapped the losing streak. It was the Lions' first win of the season, of that season, and ever since then, Amon-Ra St. Brown has become a symbol of winning for the Detroit Lions. And He's been a favorite target of Goff's ever since then. And when we think of the Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell era, when we think of winning, their first win is from Amon-Ra St. Brown catching that touchdown pass. And yeah, that's where a lot of it really began. Who else is there? There's obviously Kirby Joseph and Ifeatu Melifonwu, because I went to both of their games where they've had game-ending interceptions. Right around this time last year, last game of the season against the Packers, Kirby Joseph had that one against Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers left the Green Bay Packers after that. I saw that one in person there, and then just a few weeks ago, in Minnesota, I was at that game and I saw Fatu Melifonwu, who I was having doubts about, in that last year or so. He's really came alive and he got that game-ending interception in that game too to get the first division NFC North champions for the Detroit Lions for the first time in ever since the NFC North became a thing. So those ones there for that. Aiden Hutchinson, like off the field, like stuff. I think when he went to the Detroit Tigers baseball game, the same one that Miguel Cabrera had the 3,000th hit, and he threw out the first pitch there. This was right before when he got drafted, and at the time, everybody thought he was going to be drafted first overall to Jacksonville. Luckily, he wasn't, and I think doing that was sort of his subtle way of telling everybody, "Hey, I want to play in Detroit," and I it he got his wish if that was the case, and we're all happy for it, and I was glad that he went out there and did that sort of thing there. So, and then, uh, yeah, I think as far as on the field, what Hutchinson done when he closed out the game against Chicago, where he knocked the ball out of Justin Fields' hands and it tumbled all the way across the end zone for a safety there, and that ended that game. So, and that was a game the Lions are supposed to lose, but being the villains, they win games that they're not supposed to win in the eyes of the national average fan, and they won that game. And Dan Campbell's going in the locker room celebration, and yeah, he came back and won that game. Let's see, Penei Sewell. I think probably my favorite memory of him when they played the Rams a few years ago, and he and Aaron Donald got into that shouting match right there on the field. So uh, Penei Sewell isn't scared of anybody, even Aaron Donald, and he proved that there. And there's no reason why he probably won't be in the next couple of days or so. So that I really liked with him. Um, Taylor Decker, just the fact that he came back from his finger injury back a few years ago, and then when he came back, that also kind of contributed to Lions starting playing better and better during that season, and it just made you realize, oh wow, yeah, Taylor Decker really is a valuable piece to the puzzle, um, and then his speech after winning the NFC North, like, everybody respects us and everybody better fear us now. So that's definitely a Taylor Decker thing there. Ali McNeil, I there's a lot about him that I like. I know this maybe not all these are necessarily favorite memories, but and rather just compliments, but I'm trying to figure it out with him. And he did sort of a feature thing with Danny Rogers or Detroit Lions on YouTube or whatever, where he was explaining his favorite hobby was music and trying to create music as best he can. And I thought that was like really cool to kind of get to know him there. And as far as on the field play, though, just like in general, when they play the Giants and how he was able to neutralize Saquon Barkley, and he and the Giants were playing well at that time there too. So the fact that he was able to do that was really cool. So he's nobody talks about Ali McNeil as much, but they should because he is right up there in my opinion for being one of the top defensive linemen. Um, Yeah, those are some of the people I could think of off the top of my head. So, all these players have all done great things for to, help the Lions become where they are right now. So, um, and the regular season's over, and we're about to witness the first Ford Field game in postseason history. And I hope they win. I really do. So, regardless whatever happens though, there's been a lot of great memories and thankful to be a Detroit Lions fan for all that. So, that's all I have for you guys for now. Until next time, go Lions, one pride.